Hello and welcome to Expat Hoops. Today we talk with another former University of Wisconsin Milwaukee player, Angela Rodriguez. Her 1,564 career points ranks seventh in school history. After she graduated in 2014, she started her overseas career in Poland and has played throughout Europe in her career going on 8 years, which we'll break down for you in the interview.
But before we talk to Angela, I want to remind you to be interactive with us at Expat Hoops. We're active on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can also show your support for content like this by hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel, or commenting below the video on our YouTube page. Now, if you'll join Tony and I in welcoming Angela to Expat Hoops, welcome to the show, Angela.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. We talked a little bit in the intro about your college career. Former four-year starter at University of Wisconsin Milwaukee, ranks among the Panthers' all-time top 7 in points, assists, made three-pointers, free throw percentage. Basically, you're pretty active on the floor. 2011 Horizon League newcomer. What were the highlights of your career as you would see it outside of the numbers?
I mean, it's got to be the relationships and friendships that I've made, players, coaches, it was like a family. And I got to play in front of my family as well. Staying close to home was super important to me. So having them at every home game, and obviously away games are really close, being in the Horizon League. And then if I had to pick a game, it would probably be beating Green Bay at Green Bay. I have to throw that in there. But yeah, overall, it was a good experience being so close to home and being able to play as much as I did.
And you actually were one of the highest rated, I think the highest rated in the state and everything when you were coming out of high school. What were your options like coming out of high school as you were deciding on your college?
To be honest, it was a lot of the mid-major programs. I took a lot of visits, Duke, Miami, Ohio, and then I got my big offer from Marquette. So my final two were Marquette and Milwaukee. I really liked an assistant coach that was at Milwaukee. She actually ended up leaving. But I had met the girls and I was with the girls so often, obviously, because I was so close to them. So I would go to every game. I was hanging out with, just with the players. And I loved the team camaraderie they had, and they had nothing but good things to say about the program. I wanted to be, that big fish in a small pond. Didn't exactly work out when it comes to winning. But, the culture changed when Coach Rex came in, and it's obviously in great hands now. They just won the league last year, so it's really cool to see them doing well. But we had some other big names. Ashley Green came. I thought that we had some good recruits. The coaching change was tough for all of us, but overall, again, happy with my decision. Can't go back and change it. So some good things have come out of it, and obviously I'm still playing, so I'm very blessed.
Yeah, you ended up being having a great deal of personal success there during your time, and that assisted you in going pro eventually. So walk us through the process. You're at Wisconsin Milwaukee, mid-major school, had some personal success. What was it like trying to figure out if you were going to go pro, where you were going to go pro, and how you went through the process of finally going overseas?
To be honest, I didn't know much about it. Obviously, your whole life growing up, you only know the WNBA. And, when I figured out that probably wasn't in sights for me, I had to figure out my next step. Again, I'm a hometown kid. Obviously, I wanted to go to school close to home. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I could not go to Europe. Like, this is so far. So, you go to the pro combines at the Final Four. I went, met some agents, talked to them, and kind of just let my career play out that way. I actually was part of the Mexico national team coming out of college. I had gotten a call from a coach that was actually at one of the combines. He was coaching for the LA Sparks at the time, and he was the assistant for the Mexico national team. So I got to play with them, and to be honest, I think it gave me a little bit of exposure and obviously a little bit of a good name with the coaches that were there. So then I continued and got my first offer from Poland. So I knew nothing about it. I just knew that I had a little bit of Polish in me. So I took the trip. Wasn't super easy, to be honest. Obviously, my first time really, really away from home without the support of my family. Probably wouldn't have been able to make it through that, but I did, and I'm still here and still playing. So I'm really blessed.
So longtime listeners of Expat Hoops know that there is a bit of a history with we, the hosts, and the country of Poland. Very nice country, very good people. However, the number of people who have had experiences there that are I don't know, a bit more difficult than in some other places is numerable. And so we go through, the various things with people that have played in Poland and the things that they went through. And the one thing that always comes up as the common thread that is the most difficult part of playing in Poland is the travel. They talk
Okay.
about the 10-hour bus rides, to here and there, the different cities. What was your experience like in Poland? Was there anything like that you had to go through? I know it was difficult for me from a standpoint that you were new to being away from home, but was there anything unique to Poland that you can point to and say, here's some good experiences, here's some bad experiences?
I mean, obviously the travel is, to be honest, terrible everywhere you go. I'm actually taking a ship tonight to my game. That's a 10-hour ship, stay the night on the ship, get to Athens tomorrow and play in a game. So this is also super new to me. But yeah, Poland, it was just a really different situation. I felt like they almost weren't really up to date, in life. So it was just, again, it was different. But there were so many Americans there that I got to make friends throughout the travel, getting to and from cities. It was like $5 to hop on a double-decker bus and get there for 5 hours. I was like, okay, this is great. So I was just I just kind of learned how to travel on my own and get places and figured out what made me most comfortable. And that was being around other Americans at the time, because again, first time away from home. But I can't pick out something super specific when it comes to Poland. Again, travel is bad, but I mean, driving through Germany, driving through Poland is the same thing to me. So yeah, I can't really point anything out specifically. But yeah.
But it's interesting. One of the things you said was, I might be paraphrasing now at this point, that life in Poland was not super up to date. Like, what do you mean by that?
Just the people. I think, the double looks, the double takes. When I would be out with some of my teammates, it was just, okay, now, yeah, some of my teammates are 6'5", so it's not every day you see that. But even at the clubs, when we would be out or at a grocery store, it would just be different kind of looks, stares. And again, I mean, you're going to get that anywhere you go, but it was just a little odd to me, especially because these cities have had basketball players. This wasn't the first team they had. But yeah, just different. The Polish people are, they're just different.
So you wrap up your year in Poland and you end up the following year in Germany. German league,
yep.
pretty high level play for men as well as for women. Tell us about your experience in your first year in Germany.
First year in Germany, I was in a really small town. Like, I'm talking maybe 800 people. They had one grocery store, one workout facility, and you had the gym. And it was like almost like something you'd think of when you think of small town Germany. It was that. I had some really great Americans. Now one of them is one of my best friends. The league is good. The Germans, the league, I call it like a safe league. You're always going to get paid on time. You're going to have good housing, meals. You know what you're going to get when you go there. They're going to be professional. So to me, it was a fine experience.
So you're in a town of 800 people. Like, I know that things get pretty small in the upper Midwest pretty quickly where you're from, but that must have been something quite different, because I know, having been to rural Germany briefly myself, I know that a lot of people have never seen an American in some cases. English gets a little bit rough here and there. How was that for you, coming from a place like Poland, where you mentioned, sometimes you'd get some attention, sometimes that people would give you different looks and things like that. How was that in Germany?
Yeah, it was about the same in the small town.
Mhm.
Now, I was about an hour train ride from Hamburg. I would go to Hamburg like every weekend, and it was pretty normal. There's more, it was more life there. It was more up to, like, things are just a little more up to date. You have a younger crowd. They always told me, hey, don't talk to the older people. They're probably not going to know English. So if you need help, find like a younger person, just because they probably studied recently or they're taking an English class as we speak. So yeah, people were very kind though. People in Germany were kind. It I don't have anything bad to say about my experience there.
And eventually you would come back to Germany, but next up was Romania in year 3. Split the season between Romania and Iceland. Take us through what that season was like for you in terms of switching gears, somewhat through the middle of the season, middle of the year.
Yeah, I got to Romania, and in my opinion, it wasn't the best situation for me or the best fit. So I decided that I needed to head back home, which I did. And then I got a call from Iceland. I'm thinking Iceland, but I'm from Wisconsin, so it's already cold. So I'm like, what the heck? Let's go. Get to Iceland. Probably one of my best experiences. Great people, great country. It's so beautiful there, but the people just treated you like you were their own. Like I said earlier, talking to you guys, I'd met a family. They took me in, just so kind, cooking dinners every night. Like, this is how great Iceland is. You could go into the grocery store and you can leave your car running. So obviously I didn't know this when I got there. So the lady next to me parks and she goes in the store and I'm like, oh my gosh, her car is running. Like, I need to tell her. So I go in the store, I'm like, hi, excuse me, your car's running. She's like, yeah, like, what's the problem? I'm like, oh, okay. For example, another time, I go into the store and it's snowing, it's cold. They'd be like, taking their kids in the stroller and they leave their babies outside in the stroller. And I'm like, you just left your kid out here. And so I'm running back and tell this lady, oh, hey, you forgot your kid. And she's like, no, it's normal. My friends are like, Ange, it's normal. And I'm like, this is how it's, here's me locking my door, stuffing my keys away. Like, I didn't trust anybody because you just don't know. But everybody there is just so kind. Everybody. Now, I was probably in a smaller town. I was actually near the Blue Lagoon. Not sure if you've ever heard of that. It's like the hot springs where you can go swimming and stuff. So it was a smaller town, but I was just, you're just taught to lock your car, and so it was just different. But people were great. Treated me like family. So loved my experience in Iceland.
Well, it was only a half a year. I think off the pod, you kind of said that you were. This is a pivotal point in your career where it's only year 3, and like you said, you wasn't the right fit. You kind of said you weren't really sure exactly where your career was going to go, and Iceland kind of came along at the right time, and sort of revitalized you. And you spent the half of the season there, and next season is in Iceland as well. So take us through what the next season was like in Iceland. Different club, I believe, correct?
It was actually the same club.
Oh,
they had offered me back. And then I was a player coach, which was very new for me. Very difficult as well. Trying to coach your team and play at the same time, and you're the only American there. In Iceland, they only allow one American per team for men and women. So it's like running a practice, but also trying to make myself better while trying to lead a team, trying to teach, trying to make sure that I'm, still doing my job. So it was really difficult, but I thought that I could handle it. I thought they would look really good on my resume. They had also offered me to do like training lessons. So I was doing those once a week with the kids. They would come before school, like 6 a.m., shower, go to school. It was really cool in Iceland. They loved to be in the gym. They loved to learn. They loved their Americans. I had a really great men's player at the time too. His name was Lewis. And so he was always with the kids helping out. And they wanted to be involved. They wanted to be on the court. They wanted to get better. So you love being around that, especially in another country.
So it's not actually the first time. One of our first guests, she actually played over in Iceland, and that was the same sort of deal, is that she had to, as part of her deal, is that she had to coach a younger team as well. So that's kind of interesting that, that's kind of like I figured it was probably a norm. It wasn't something that was outside the realm of possibility for her as well, but it's just kind of interesting to see how that gets thrown in the mix for them.
Yeah, and honestly, sometimes we like it. It's a cool way to get involved in the community. The parents can see you. Obviously, they're going to be coming to the games, and you're in the gym all the time. So people see you and know you, and now they can get to know you on maybe a more personal level. It's also most of the time an opportunity to make more money, which is really kind of them as well. Get you involved in the youth, but also give you a little bit of a side hustle. So yeah, it was great. Iceland was amazing, to be honest.
So after Iceland, you end up back in Germany for a club called Saarlouis. Tell us about your second time in Germany and what you took with you since you ended up there in year 2.
Yeah, I knew what to expect this time around, which was good. I had known some of the players, knew some of the Americans. I had known this club. I knew some people that played for it, so it was I knew what to expect. People were very kind there. It was a good situation. Great fan base. Germany does love their basketball, so that's always really fun to play in front of. They were very involved with the team, you know, us and the fans, so that's always a cool camaraderie to have. We ended up not making playoffs, so that wasn't super great. But again, I had really great Americans. That makes everything just so much better, you know, when you can connect with somebody, and especially you're so far away from home. So yeah, my second year in Germany was good.
From Germany, you go to Spain. Played for Utica, fairly well-known club. Take us through what that season was like in Spain for you.
That was probably, so far, not counting this season, my favorite season of my career. Being in Spain, I actually got the job from one of my friends. Her name's Angel Robinson. She played at Marquette, and she was actually there at the time they were recruiting me. So we had kind of known each other, but they needed a shooter, and she was actually hurt a little bit. So she had referred me, which was great. And I got there, and I was probably 3 blocks from the beach. The people were so wonderful. The culture there is really, really cool to be a part of. Obviously great food, but the basketball was great. I had never been overseas with a team that was such a team. It's very difficult to find that because, you know, everyone's trying to play for themselves. I mean, you go overseas and you play on a team, but like at the end of the day, you're all kind of trying to get another job next year and to somewhat get your own, which is so different from college, because in college it's all about team. It's everything is one, and over here you're kind of on your own. And so it was so great to be part of a team that just wanted to see each other do so well. And again, I think it comes with a little bit of the Spanish culture. People are just so kind there, and so I really tried to be so a part of the culture. And that's like my biggest thing is when I get over here now, I want to learn something, whether it's, you know, a little bit of the language or food or just something about the people and about the country that I'm in. But Spain was it was like a dream almost. I mean, again, 3 blocks from the beach, walked to practice, you could see the beach. People were great. The club was very professional. They actually have a Euro Cup team, which always helps on the women's side when your men are very professional and treated well. So yeah, it was great experience.
It's another thing about longtime listeners of the pod are going to understand that this is not the first time we've heard great things about Spain, between being paid either on time or early. Also the place that you are, the food, basically everything you just touched on. This is not surprising.
Okay. Yeah. And to be honest, it's an honor to play in Spain because the leagues are so good. I was actually in the second division, but the second division in Spain is known to be very, very, very competitive as well. Men's league, women's league, everything is, again, Spain is beautiful. People are great. It was great.
Yeah, and again, that's completely consistent with what Spain is that it almost really doesn't matter what level you're in. It's very competitive top to bottom. I mean, basically Spain is between the food, the people, the location, and all that stuff. It's just like it's pretty much, why would you not want to play here?
Absolutely. Like, to be honest, that's so true. And I always say it's not even about the talent at that point. The Spanish girls the women that I played against were just so competitive that any given night, it could have been, you know, 1-8, whatever team anybody could win on any given night. That's why I like the league as well. You didn't just have blowouts all the time, which to me, I love a game that's competitive, you know?
So from there, you go back to your third and thus far final year in Germany. You play for Alva Berlin. This is also your COVID year, which everybody that's been playing professional basketball on the pod has had a story about that. Tell us about your time in Germany and how COVID affected you.
Yeah, that was a really tough but great situation. I was playing for Alba, which a lot of people know that name, whether you play basketball, soccer, whatever it is. One of the most professional clubs I've been a part of. And actually, the club is run by Spanish people. So I'm just leaving Spain, loved Spain. My head coach was Spanish. The men's coach was Spanish. The president was Spanish. All the assistants were Spanish. And so it was like, I got to have a little bit of that in Germany. Spanish people just kind of have just a way about them. They're just very good energy. They're always very positive. Now, some of these people were from an island, in Spain. So that, they're just a little more chill. They're really easygoing. So that was really fun to be around and to work with. Practiced for 5 months and didn't play a single game, which was really difficult. Everything was locked down in Berlin. I had actually been there before because I traveled when I was in Poland. I traveled a little bit, so I would go to Berlin and I saw the city and such. But you couldn't do anything. All you could do was walk outside, and it's cold in Berlin. It's like Wisconsin, so it was difficult. It takes a big mental toll on you. Thank goodness Berlin actually has their own gym. They own it, which you could keep practicing, even though some teams were not allowed to because they didn't own their own gym. But the people were great. It was really unfortunate that we couldn't play because obviously after 5 months, I thought we looked pretty good. So that was really tough, but Berlin was a class act. Great people, great club, super professional.
Here's a question for you. We went through this with somebody that was actually in college at the time, and their league had pretty much shut down and they weren't allowed to play games. And it was just a matter of, how can we keep things going with practice? Was there anything that you guys did during the COVID period of time? Like you said, you're practicing for 5 months. Is there something that you guys kind of did to, keep things interesting that kind of came about because of COVID?
Like, I want to say the one thing we did was we would scrimmage each other and like wear our actual jerseys. And I'm over here like, I don't know about it. But I think that it did get some people into game mode. It made it competitive, even though, you kept playing each other. I kept thinking maybe we'll play tomorrow, which obviously I get my hopes up and put them down right away, but you had to really change your mindset, because I'm also thinking maybe I want to play here next year. I'm also thinking, what if things do open up? What if we do end up playing? So mentally, I was trying to be in competitive mode all the time. So it was difficult. It was really difficult. We had young girls, so I thought that, obviously we were probably losing people mentally at times, which I completely understood. It was a tough time for everybody, for coach, for, one day you think you're going to play, the next day you're not going to play for 2 weeks. So it's like, yeah, it was tough. And being overseas, to be honest, it was a tough time for everybody. And I feel for every overseas athlete there was.
Absolutely. And that's part of the reason why I'm asking the question is, God forbid we find ourselves in another situation like that. What was learned during that period of time, or if there's something else like that hopefully that, if somebody hears that they can, a little bit of a how-to of like, okay, this is how we can kind of keep things interesting.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I just had to challenge my own self every day, whether it was, get better at this today, or let's focus on this today. I was actually in the gym extra. I wanted to get more shots up. I wanted to be in there with coach. I had a really great coach who was really, really good at individuals. So it was really fun to work with him, because I'm also thinking, okay, if I don't play this year, this is going to make me better just in general. And actually Peyton Siva was playing for Berlin at the time. I'm sure everybody knows Peyton Siva. And talk about a worker. I mean, just a great guy, but we would be leaving practice at 10 p.m. He would just be getting to the gym to get extra shots up. At the time, the men and women could not work out together because of COVID, because the men Euro League was still playing, along with the men in Germany were actually still playing as well, but just no fans. So they had to be extra cautious. Otherwise, I definitely would say shoot. But yeah, you just had to challenge yourself, as tough as that got. Obviously, FaceTime helps. Trying to learn something new. I was trying to learn Spanish on Duolingo. Didn't go super well, but I'm still learning. So yeah, it was a tough time for everybody mentally. Just glad that we're all out of that, to be honest.
Yeah. One of the things that you kind of mentioned a little bit earlier on too was talking about like the Spanish lifestyle, and obviously I know that some of the people that you're talking about came from an island, which also is a little bit of a twist as well. But feel like there's almost a whole podcast you could do on things that we could learn from Spanish culture, but we'll move on.
For sure. Call me up for that one.
Yeah. Between the COVID year in Berlin, you switched agents, and leading to the last season that you had in Switzerland. Take us through the Switzerland year. I know that was a good year. I mean, probably relative to the COVID year, but also it was a good year for you as well. What was Switzerland like for you?
So I had actually gotten an offer from my agent to go play in Switzerland, and it was a difficult decision because I was deciding between, going to play in a league that I knew was going to continue, or leaving a team that I had just practiced 5 months with, who I was obviously hoping and thinking that we would continue to play. So I was super comfortable where I was, and getting up and leaving, I wouldn't even say this is mid-season. This is further than mid-season. It was a decision that I had to kind of make for myself. And I also, I wanted to be playing. I wanted to be going up and down. I wanted people to see that I could still play. So it was kind of a decision that I had to make selfishly, as bad as that sounds, but it was for the best for my career. Ended up going to Switzerland. It was really tough to say goodbye, and all that Alba did for me and took care of us and all of that. Went to Switzerland, and it was actually amazing. It was new people, new everything, but again, had a great Americans. The people there were super kind. President, the club, everybody was very, very kind. So it ended up working out. I got comfortable there very fast, which was good. And it was a tough decision, like I said, but I think that it ended up being okay.
Actually, I have an interesting question for you, because I mean, you mentioned it in your response about how you're with Alba and that you've basically been practicing, but you really haven't been playing any games, like no game film or anything else like that. Was that also part of your calculus, is essentially saying, okay, one thing having on the resume playing for a well-known club like Alba is like, well, clearly she can play. Like, that's how I would look at it. However, there's also with overseas is like, basically, if you don't have any recent film or anything, was that kind of part of your calculus as well, as saying, well, on the one hand, I've made it to a pretty good club, but on the other hand, there's no game film and I don't want that to be used against me. Was that also kind of part of the rationale of moving?
Absolutely. And actually, the president was really cool. He had known after Christmas, he was kind of like, look, I have no idea if we're going to play or not. He actually told us, if you find a different club, you are more than welcome to leave, which I thought was very, very classy of them. Obviously, they didn't need to do that because we could have played and we could have wanted to compete. Good thing about Alba as well, and them being so professional, is we had practice film. Not saying that helps my case, but at least you did get to see that I had been working for 5 months. My credit goes to my Alba coach, because we were in the gym so much and I got to Switzerland. To me, my game had looked like I had been working out every day. And so, for him to take the time and do individual workouts with me and such, it was a really smooth transition back into playing a game, because now we're talking, I haven't played a game for probably 8-9 months since Spain. And Spain, we got locked down, so I was stuck in Spain for 3 months. So it's like, it was a tough decision, but it was almost like perfect timing. And like I said, the transition was very smooth going into Switzerland.
And it certainly pays to be part of a professional club, because if you do have that tape, at least you have something to lean on. If somebody needs to see it, if somebody wants to see it. Whereas in some other situations, you might be in a little bit more difficult. It would be more difficult to move on from there as smoothly as you were saying before. And also,
absolutely,
I'm sure that during your time in Alba, you still got paid, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. They were, again, and very classy, professional.
With other places,
nice.
Who knows? Maybe that wouldn't have been the case.
Right.
During the COVID time period, we heard of a lot of difficulty with people that teams were having money troubles because they weren't having any gate receipts and any of that kind of stuff, and no time on TV, no sponsorships, that kind of stuff, and they were having difficulty doing that. So, all said, I think your COVID situation was, given the circumstances, relatively ideal to move on quickly and have a nicer transition back into playing basketball once things got going again.
I would agree. And maybe at the time I didn't realize that. I mean, with talking to some of my other teammates and such, or like my family, they're like, hey, you're getting paid to practice. And, it wasn't like we were doing anything crazy. Coach knew that we probably weren't going to play for a bit. So looking back on it, I was very fortunate to be in that situation and to get paid and to have my housing and then not send us home, because they could have easily been like, yeah, we'll send you home and we'll figure things out. But they didn't. And so it was great.
And so you are now in Greece. You're on the island of Crete. For those, just a very quick plug for those audio listeners. If you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel and see the island of Crete behind our guest as the sun was setting, please do. Audio listeners, obviously, sorry, gonna have to go elsewhere to see that. But it's a scenic place, and a place that has some pretty good basketball as well. The Greek League is always a pretty high level in both men's and women's basketball from people we talk to. Tell us about your time in Crete.
So far, this has been like a fairy tale. I mean, I'm on an island playing basketball, doing what I love. And I mean, when I started my career, I actually said my dream was to play in Greece. My dream was always to be on a beach. And obviously I didn't really know much at the time, but now I'm here and it's amazing. The people here in Greece have been very kind. They've been helping us with whatever we need. First game, cup game is tomorrow. We haven't started the official season yet. Coach has been great. Teammates are super welcoming. Again, I have really great Americans that always helps things. The island's beautiful. I mean, you're on an island. Every time we drive, I just see water. So it's kind of unreal. I'm super blessed, and I'm just really, really thankful to be here.
How much longer does your season go there?
It'll officially end April 10th. Playoffs will be after that. So
you have
hopefully
a good long time period to enjoy yourself there.
Absolutely.
And I certainly want to say that I was about to say it off the top too, is like I can confirm that is by far the best background we've had the entire time. And I think this is now, I want to say that we're slated. I think this will probably be like our 39th episode or something like that. So this is by far and away the best background we've had through close to 40 podcasts now.
Well, I'm honored that it is.
First of all, it's been great to talk to you. Let's not go past that. But I want to say that, and I say this to everybody else, that that we enjoy talking with them and that they're welcome back anytime. But you especially, with the added benefit of the background, you are welcome back anytime.
I was trying to sell it. I did that. Hey,
that's right.
You knocked it out of the park.
That's right. Not only selling the background, but selling your experience there as a basketball player too. So wishing you luck in Crete. You mentioned earlier, we wanted to get into some of your international experience. You have some experience as a member of the Mexican national team. You were pretty young when you first started in the Mexican national team. Tell us about some of your experiences that you had playing for that team.
So I've played one tournament with them. It was the Central American Games, and we had taken third. We won a bronze medal, and it was probably one of the highlights of my entire life. To be able to represent, my dad's side of the family. I got to play because my grandmother was born in Mexico, so you can kind of have the second generation. Being in Mexico, again, that's another culture that it was so cool to see that. I hadn't traveled a lot until after I graduated from Milwaukee, and so that was my first stop. And I think that's what made Poland a little bit difficult, because you go to Mexico where the people will give you the shirt off their back. I mean, these are some of the greatest people that I've ever met, and it truly made me proud. And I was just so blessed to be there and to be around such great people, from the coaches to the teammates to just the Mexican people. The culture was great. Again, great food. But I just had such an amazing time. So you go to Poland, maybe the people are not as friendly. It's just a little bit different, like I said. So the national team, I was actually coached by an assistant coach from the Sparks, and then there was a head coach for the Atlanta Dream. She was a previous head coach. So Mexico wanted to bring in some American head coaches, see if they could kind of, make the team a little bit better. They wanted to really make Mexico women's basketball something, and we placed. And I think that's what they wanted to do. That was the goal. So winning a bronze medal, being with my teammates, and meeting some friends that I've had for life now. It was an amazing experience. Mom and Dad got to fly out to Mexico. Actually, fun fact, they've been in every country that I've played in. My mom's a flight attendant, nice. So that's been really, really, really helpful when it comes to this.
Yeah, not everybody gets to show off all of the places they play to their families, so that's good to hear.
Yeah, I've been very thankful, and it's been really great that they've been able to come.
One of the things that on this podcast we've run into is people that are playing overseas is that they don't get to see their family for a long stretch of period of time. Now, granted, you're probably still missing some events, that either friends or family are having in the States, but that makes you a little bit unique in that, there's a certain period of time that your family has actually been able to visit, and breaks it up a little bit. That's got to make it nice.
Yeah, it really does. I think the Christmas break is always much needed, and it's a good time for us to go home, or to see other friends or people in Europe. But when my family comes, I know it's just such a great time, especially because you get to show them everything you've been talking about on FaceTime, or trying to show them pictures of, and it's just different when they're here. So it's kind of like I am the tour guide, and they're just kind of following me around, which I know that they enjoy. But now they're in my space, which is really cool to show them and experience.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I know that your international experience, not only did you get to represent the Mexican national team, but you also have a Mexican passport. Take us through what that's been like for you as you've been trying to navigate. And actually, when did you get that passport? Was it pretty early on?
So I got the passport when I was playing for the national team. They figured out that I could get one, so I got it when I was in Mexico. To be honest, it doesn't help me here because I still count as an American, which is tough, which is great. I mean, I love being American, of course, but it would make it a little bit, for example, if I counted as a true foreigner, now you could have 2 other Americans other than me, or maybe 3 other Americans other than me, but I just count as an American.
That's interesting. That's exactly where I was going with the question, and I didn't realize. So is it essentially that they consider Mexico to be so close to America, so you're American,
Pretty
or is
much.
it interesting? Because I haven't heard that. Usually,
Like I think that all Central America, it doesn't count.
that's interesting because I was going to say that's exactly where I was going with that question. Is most of the time, if you can get another country's passport, you become, essentially not
Right.
an American, and that's exactly where I was
Right.
going with the question. But it turns out for not basically.
Yep. Got the wrong one. I'm just kidding. It just, it doesn't quote unquote help you here. Like it doesn't make you a foreigner.